She shoved me against the kitchen wall and screamed in front of her kids. "You're a failure, Hannah. You couldn't even hold a child in your womb." My heart didn't break in that moment. It had been silently shattering for months, but there, it turned to dust. The only response I could give was silence. The silence of someone who no longer has the strength to defend herself. And deep down, I knew she wanted me gone. She just didn't have the courage to kick me out like a dog. Yet, if this story touched you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next real and emotional stories. My name is Hannah Williams. I'm 35 years old, and for a long time I believed that love between siblings was unconditional. I was the youngest. She was the brightest. Since we were little, Vanessa had that star quality, the most praised at school meetings, the first to get a car, the favorite of our parents. I was more discreet, more of a homebody, the kind who'd rather bake an apple pie than be in front of the cameras. But I didn't mind. She was my sister, and I admired her. When our mother got sick, I was the one who stayed with her. I quit my job as an assistant at a bakery in Birmingham, moved back to Huntsville, and took over everything. The medications, the pain, the shortness of breath, the loneliness. Vanessa came on weekends, always with makeup on, manicured nails, perfect hair. She brought flowers, but never stayed. She'd say, "I just can't bear to see Mom like that." So I bore it, for both of us. She thanked me with gifts, a used purse, a shirt from the store she worked at, but never with presents, never with listening. When Mom died, it felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. My job had already been filled by someone else. I had almost no savings left. That's when Vanessa said, "Stay here for a while, until you get back on your feet. The kids will love it." I wanted to say no, but fear is a dangerous advisor. So I said yes. Vanessa's house looked like something out of a magazine. 2 stories, white carpet, 3 bedrooms, a kitchen with a marble island, and a backyard where the kids played in a wooden playhouse that cost more than my car. Her husband, Mark, was a lawyer, stern, polite, always with a perfect tie. He talked to me like one talks to the cleaning lady, polite, but cold. The boys, Toby and Mason, were 5 and 8. They hugged me on the first day as if they'd loved me forever. And maybe that was where it all began. The problem. Vanessa introduced me as Aunt Hannah, who's going to help around the house. But I didn't just help a little. I did everything. Laundry, dishes, cooking, dropping off and picking up the boys from school. I taught them to write, told stories, made cupcakes for their dolls' birthdays. And she went to the gym, the salon, on trips with Mark. At first, I didn't notice. I thought it was temporary. But little by little, I began to disappear. One day, at the supermarket, I ran into an old high school friend. She looked me up and down and said, "Do you work at Vanessa's house?" I swallowed hard. "No, she's my sister." She smirked. "Oh, I thought you were the nanny." That was the first sting, the first shame, but the worst came later. Vanessa started avoiding me. She'd stopped talking when I entered a room, started having upstairs meetings with friends. And she'd say things like, "You need to find something for your life, Hannah. You can't live off others forever." But I was taking care of her children, her house, her dinner. I started cooking in secret, afraid of using the wrong ingredients. I'd make coffee and drink it on the porch before sunrise, just to not bother anyone. Until one day, Mark said a sentence I still hear when I close my eyes. "Vanessa's overwhelmed. She needs her space. This isn't a shelter." That night, I cried in the bathroom, locked the door, curled up near the heater, and hugged my suitcase. A rolling suitcase with a broken zipper, holding everything I had left. 4 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, an old notebook from my grandma, and a pregnancy test. Negative. I wanted a child so badly. But my body refused me that. And now, so did my sister. The breaking point came on Mason's recital day. I was the one who helped him memorize the song, sewed his costume, filmed the rehearsals. At the show, I sat in the back row of the gym, because the front seats were for parents and guests. When Mason finished singing, he looked at me in the back bleachers and smiled. But it was Vanessa who went on stage with him, who took the applause, who was in the official photo. On the way home, I tried to smile. But when we walked in, Vanessa was waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, eyes like blades. "Hannah, you're taking advantage of the situation." "What?" "You're trying to look good in front of my kids. Like you're a better mother than me." "I never said that. You're a failure. You couldn't even have a child." And before I could react, she pushed me. She really pushed me. Hard. The kids saw. Mark saw. But no one said a word. I remember sleeping on the floor of the guest room that night. I remember the smell of the borrowed blanket. I remember holding back tears until my back hurt. And I remember making the hardest decision of my life. The next morning, with the sun still low and the street wet from the early rain, I pulled my old suitcase and walked down the stairs. The boys were still sleeping. Vanessa didn't come down. Mark watched me from the porch, a cup in hand. He didn't say goodbye or thank you. The door closed behind me with a dull thud, and I had nowhere to go. But I had something inside that suitcase. Something I didn't know yet. That would change everything. The first night away from my sister's house was cold. Not because of the temperature. It was early spring in Alabama, and the air was still warm and humid. But because of the weight on my shoulders. The feeling of having been ripped out of my own story. I spent hours sitting on the bench at the Huntsville bus station, not knowing whether to cry, call someone, or pretend this was all a dream. My bank balance, $86.17. No job. No home. No plan. I tried to sleep, but the security guard woke me at 3 a.m. with a dry tap on my arm. "The terminal's closing, ma'am. You'll have to leave." I grabbed my suitcase and wandered aimlessly through the empty streets. That's when I saw the light on at Eastside Baptist Church. There, leaning against the side wall of the church, with the zipper of my suitcase stuck and cold seeping through the holes in my sneakers, I curled up behind a bush and slept like I was 12 again, hiding under the kitchen table during my parents' fights. The next morning, I walked into the church with tangled hair and a face marked by the pavement. The pastor, an elderly man named Reverend Coleman, looked at me in surprise, but didn't ask questions. He simply offered me a coffee. "Would you like to take a shower, dear? The laundry room out back has one." That laundry room became my home for the next 2 weeks. I slept there, among baskets of charity clothes and the scent of cheap detergent. I washed my only towel every night, heated instant noodles in a broken microwave, and every night, before sleeping, I'd open my grandmother Hattie's old notebook and read the recipes she whispered to me in childhood. Pumpkin pie with a buttery crust, walnut cookies with brown sugar, sweet cornbread with orange zest. Those scribbles were all I had left of my identity, all that was still mine. One afternoon, while I was washing dishes at the church, a woman named Miss Carroll, a volunteer at the community kitchen, saw me mashing a leftover ripe banana with flour. "You know how to cook?" "Sort of. Sort of is better than nothing. Come by tomorrow. Help me with the muffins." The next morning, I put on my only clean t-shirt and went. I made the muffins, drizzled them with homemade honey, served them with a cloth napkin. The reaction was unexpected. A homeless man hugged me and said, "This taste reminded me of my mother." A child asked for 2 more to take to her grandma, and Miss Carroll pulled me aside. "You should sell this." That same day, I went to a stationery store and spent my last $7 on a pack of 10 clear bags and a permanent marker. I hand-wrote Grandma Hattie's recipes and made 5 mini apple pies using leftovers from the kitchen. After Sunday Mass, I stood outside Lincoln Elementary School with a makeshift cooler and offered the pies for $3. Almost no one looked. Some said, "I don't eat sugar." Others, "I don't carry cash." Until a middle-aged teacher stopped, tasted one, and bought them all. "Will you be here next week?" "If God wills." "Then I'll be back." The second week, I sold 17 pies. The third, 32. By the fourth, I made $128 in profit. But not everyone was accepting. An elegant lady looked at my little packages and said loudly, so everyone could hear, "This looks like prison food. Where are the health licenses?" I froze, wanted to cry, to run, to disappear. But before I could react, a loyal customer replied, "At least this tastes real, not like expensive plastic." She winked at me, and I understood. Even when you think you're alone, sometimes someone holds your hand without asking for anything in return. With the money from the first sales, I bought a used stove. I also bought an old digital camera at a thrift shop. I recorded short videos showing how I made the pies, posted them on Facebook with captions like, "Grandma's recipe that healed my broken heart, pie made with flour, banana, and faith." People started to comment, to share. An Alabama cooking page reposted. My orders doubled. I rented a culinary school's kitchen during off hours. Started doing deliveries with a borrowed empanada cart. I began saying no to degrading offers, and yes to my own voice. That's when I got a message from my nephew's school. "Hello, Aunt Hannah. This is Lincoln Elementary. The boys have spoken a lot about you. We're hosting an entrepreneurship fair and would like to invite you to set up a stand representing the Williams family." I froze. Represent the Williams family? The same family that cast me out. I thought about saying no, but something inside me, maybe Grandma Hattie's voice whispered, "Don't turn down an invitation that might show you who you truly are." I accepted. On the day of the fair, I made 50 pies, bought a red tablecloth and made handwritten price signs, even brought flowers from the churchyard to decorate the table. By 9 a.m., the fair was packed. By 10:30, my stand was surrounded. By 11, a local reporter asked to interview me. When the piece aired that night, my name was there, Hannah Williams, overcoming pain with family recipes. And in the corner of the screen, the boys, Toby and Mason, wide-eyed, eating my pie, smiling softly. The piece went viral, and 3 days later, someone rang the church doorbell. When I opened it, it took me a second to understand. It was Mason, with a backpack on, sad eyes, and one sentence, "Aunt Hannah, Mum's different. She doesn't talk to us. Toby cried because you don't live with us anymore. We miss you." Behind him, Vanessa, with smudged makeup, and a smile that didn't fool me anymore. Vanessa stood behind Mason, arms crossed and her purse hanging from her shoulder like armor. Her blonde hair was tied in a loose bun, and the dark circles under her eyes made it clear something had collapsed. But my attention was on Mason. He looked smaller than I remembered. The boy who once raced through the halls like a rocket now clutched his backpack straps like they were his lifeline. "We miss you. I miss you too, sweetheart." He threw himself into my arms with all his strength. I cried right there, uncontrollably, the scent of his child's shampoo breaking me inside. Vanessa cleared her throat behind us. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" We went up to the church's community room. Reverend Coleman gave us some privacy. She sat across from me but avoided my eyes. I know I was wrong. Silence. Things changed. Mark left me, said he wanted a woman who was lighter. She gave a nervous laugh. I didn't react. The money ran out. I'm trying to start over, but the boys, they love you, and I don't know what to do anymore. She truly looked at me for the first time. "Can you spend some time with them? Just to give me a break?" It wasn't an apology. It was a cry for help. And even after everything she did to me, I still cared about the boys. I said yes, but with one condition, not at your house. Here, in my space, with my rules. Vanessa hesitated, swallowed hard, and agreed. The boys started visiting me every Saturday. They helped bake cookies, wrapped cakes, drew labels for the packages. One time, Toby stuck a sticker on a box and wrote, "Made with love by us." That wasn't just a childish detail. It was a turning point. It was the beginning of my identity as something more than the failed sister. One Saturday, Mason asked me, "Aunt Hannah, if we were your kids, would you let us eat raw cookie dough?" Of course I would. Then we want to be. That night, I couldn't sleep. With help from Miss Carroll and the Reverend, I rented a tiny commercial space in the Five Points neighborhood in Huntsville. I painted the walls with donated paint, bought a used glass display case and a banner with the logo, Grandma Hattie's recipes, pie that hugs. Every cent was counted. Sometimes there wasn't enough money for gas. Other times I had to choose between buying flour or paying the electric bill. But every customer's smile gave me a reason to keep going. I filmed videos with the boys helping out, and followers started commenting, "This is a real family." Reminds me of my grandma. So emotional to see someone rebuilding their life like this. A reporter from WAFF 48 News saw the videos and reached out. She interviewed me in the kitchen, apron stained and hair tied up with a pen. We talked about Grandma Hattie, about starting over, about the beauty of simplicity. The next day, I got over 800 messages. Orders came in even from Mississippi. A famous chef from Nashville reposted my video. The small business became a movement. With the revenue, I bought an old food truck and had it customized with drawings from the boys. I started traveling to schools, fairs, and community centers. And in each place, I told my grandmother's story. I didn't talk about Vanessa. I didn't talk about the pain. I let the flavor speak for me. One day, Vanessa showed up at the food truck, alone, hair tied back, simple clothes. She stood in line like any customer. When it was her turn, she looked at me like she didn't know where to put her words. "I came as a customer, okay? Not as a sister. That's fine. What'll it be? A pecan pie. And a little dignity, if there's any left." We sat on a bench nearby. She looked at the ground, then at me. "They called me you. They called you Mom." I heard it from the nanny. Silence. "I was mean, Hannah. And stupid. And a coward." "Yes, you were." She took a deep breath. "I'm trying to change. I just wanted you to know that." I didn't say I forgave her, but I handed her the pie with a napkin carefully folded, and a handwritten note inside. Taste of memory, not of bitterness. That night, Mason gave me a drawing of 3 people inside a pink house. Me, him, and Toby. At the top, in crooked letters, my new family, Mommy Hannah. I didn't correct him. I didn't deny it. I didn't cry in front of them. But when I closed the church doors that night, I knelt in the empty kitchen and thanked God. Because even after everything, the wounds, the humiliation, the abandonment, love came back. And it came back with a name, a scent, and 2 pairs of small eyes that reminded me every single day who I truly was. The food truck story ended up on a BC31's regional channel. But what surprised me wasn't the reach. It was the impact. The next day, I received an unexpected call from the Huntsville City Hall Events Department. "Mrs. Hannah Williams? We were moved by your story. We'd like you to represent the city at the State Fair of Culture and Tradition as an ambassador for women's entrepreneurship." I was speechless. For a moment, I thought it was a prank, but it wasn't. 2 months later, I stood on the stage of the Montgomery Convention Center, surrounded by cameras, politicians, and renowned chefs. I wore a dress lent by one of the church volunteers. My makeup was done by a follower who drove 3 hours just to help. And in the middle of the speech, hands trembling around the microphone, I said, "Everything I know began with my grandmother, passed through pain, was seasoned with abandonment, and was reborn with love. Today I'm not just a cook. I'm the mother of 2 hearts who chose me as home." The auditorium gave a standing ovation. I allowed myself to cry. The next day, my name appeared in local newspapers and on social media. The Women of Alabama page posted my story. The most liked comment said, "She was called a failure. Today, she's a symbol of courage." And because of that post, someone from my past reappeared. I received an email signed with a name that made me freeze. Riley Hammond. He was my ex-fiancé. The man I dreamed of marrying before my mother's illness consumed my days. He disappeared when I needed him most. Literally. He never came to the hospital. Never sent a message after the funeral. It was as if I'd died with my mom. And he just went on with his life. The email was short. "I saw your story. I was moved. I regret not staying. Can I stop by your food truck sometime?" As a friend, I didn't reply. But he showed up. It was on a muggy afternoon under a heavy sky. The food truck was parked in front of the children's hospital, like every Wednesday. I saw him get out of a rental car, with that posture of a man who's never had to explain himself to anyone. But when he saw me, his eyes dropped. "Hannah, I didn't know you'd shine this much, and yet you chose to disappear into the shadows. I didn't know how to handle it. Your pain overwhelmed me. I was a coward. You were." He looked around, saw the kids, the balloons, the decorated cakes. "This is beautiful. This is real. Something you never were." He handed me an envelope. "It's an invitation. I'm getting married this summer. I wanted you to know." I took a deep breath, took the envelope, and threw it in the trash right in front of him. "Good luck, Riley. But next time, be man enough to stay when life gets hard." He left without saying another word. The following week, it was Vanessa who showed up, not with requests, but with something else. The boys. They were with her, all dressed up, holding a basket. "We made it for you." Inside, a handmade card with magazine clippings that read, "For the best cook and best mom in the world." Vanessa looked into my eyes with something that finally felt real. "I'm still trying, but they know where their safe place is. I never wanted to take anything from you, Vanessa. I just wanted respect. You deserve more than I was ever able to give you." She squeezed my hand, and, for the first time since we were kids, she called me sis. That night, I sat on the food truck porch with the boys, fresh cookies, and cold milk. The sky was full of stars. Mason rested his head on my shoulder. "If we had been born from your belly, life would have been easier, right?" "Maybe, my love. But what matters is that you were born in the right place in my heart." And there, surrounded by flour, affection, and memories, I realized my rebuilding was never about fame. It was about belonging and being seen by the people who truly matter. The food truck became too small, literally. Orders had doubled over the past 3 months. The waiting list for events was up to 2 months in advance. And the boys, Toby and Mason, were now known as Grandma Hattie's grandkids. People came not just for the flavor, but for the story. Entire families wanted hugs, photos, even advice. It was on one of those busy days that he appeared, standing in the shade of a tree, wrinkled dress shirt, eyes downcast. Mark, Vanessa's ex-husband, the boy's father, the same man who never looked at me as a person, who passed me in the hallways and pretended not to hear the sound of my existence. Now he stood there, in front of the food truck, in front of the line, in front of me. "Can I talk to you, Hannah?" "That depends." "About what?" "About starting over." I walked to the side of the truck. He followed me. "Things haven't gone well since I left. I made bad choices, invested poorly. And now," he paused, looked me in the eyes for the first time, "I'm unemployed, and without the boys. They don't want to spend weekends with me anymore." Silence. Just the sound of the grill, a horn in the distance, and children laughing in the park. "I need a job. Anything. I saw what you built. And I'm willing to learn." It was real. There was no arrogance. His usual tie had been replaced by the look of someone who no longer knew where he belonged. For a second, I was transported back to that day when he called me a burden, a guest, a nuisance. And now, he was asking for space. I took a deep breath, opened the register, pulled out a small banana pie and a brown envelope. "Here." "What is it?" "Pie. And a job application." Seriously, but not with me." He looked at me puzzled. "Go to Eastside Church. Talk to Reverend Coleman. He needs help with maintenance and cleaning. That's why I was reborn. You're recommending me to be a janitor. You taught me that was the place for people who weren't worthy. Now let's see if you're worthy enough to start there." He swallowed hard, took the form, took the pie. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me with what you do from now on." He walked away. No drama, no tears, and I felt peace. Later that same night, after I closed the food truck, I found a folded note tucked under the windshield wiper. The handwriting was childish, a bit crooked, but steady. "Mommy Hannah, you are our happy ending. Toby and Mason, I folded the paper gently, tucked it inside Grandma Hattie's notebook, between the pecan pie recipe and the cinnamon milk bread. I stayed there, watching the sky darken over the city that had seen me fall and rise again, that had seen me be forgotten and then remembered. Not by the headlines, not by the X's, but by the small arms that hugged me like they knew love is something you choose. Vanessa never fully apologized in words, and maybe she never will. But today she respects me. She invites me to birthday parties. She asks for advice. And the boys still call me Mommy Hannah. A reporter once asked me, in one of those interviews that go viral for a couple of days, when did you feel like you had truly made it? I smiled. I didn't mention the state award or the national feature, much less the food truck. I simply replied, it was when I heard two little voices call me Mom and mean it. Because on that day, that exact day, I didn't need anything else. She called me a failure. Today, her children call me Mom. And that was the best recipe life ever taught me.